I'm Erik. I'm one of the founders of Worklytics. So we're a people analytics company. So what we do is take data from a variety of the productivity tools that your company would use, and as well as from your HRIS, from surveys, and other data sources. And from that, we build an experience index of what the employee experience is like within your team. So we're able to uncover insights like whether people that have an impact on employee experience, like not having regular one-on-ones, managers being unresponsive, whether your environment's inclusive, working on weekends, things like that. Those are the sorts of insights we're able to abstract from this kind of behavioral data about what might be happening in your organization. So one of the big points I wanted to make is that we've learned from this data is how much of an impact managers have on employee experience. So managers as well as peers contribute a huge proportion of what we see as the variance in our employee experience scores. Manager behavior and sort of the general behaviors within the team is a huge component of that. Just to underscore this from some of the data we've looked at, we obviously look at graph data, so how people are interacting at work, and we find that managers and direct peers are a huge proportion of that interaction that you have at work. Whereas human resources obviously has a lot less of an impact, a lot less direct interaction with people at work. And so the point I really want to underscore here is when you think about how HR should have an impact on employee experience, you really have to think about what, as HR, we can do to facilitate these interactions and all these other buckets, right? So what can HR do to try and improve the behaviors that are happening, to try and facilitate more positive interactions between people and their managers, between people and their peers? So that's cute. The big challenge we have is how do you scale this? When you're trying to support hundreds or thousands of managers across an organization and trying to create more positive experiences for people throughout the organization, the big challenge is how do you do that in a scalable fashion? So we really feel that that AI is unlocking an opportunity to sort of decentralize the insights and spread them throughout the organization. AI is unlocking the power to be able to understand at scale the behaviors that are happening across a company. You're able to basically take the big data that we have access to now and distill what are the work habits, what is the team culture, how does that vary across thousands of employees, and distill that. You're also then able to boil that into actions that you can deploy. So you can understand how to nudge people and deliver those nudges to end managers in real time, and are able to impact action. So AI, we think, has the opportunity to really transform this, to really give HR the opportunity to have a broader impact. And that's what we really think is the opportunity for HR, is as we introduce AI throughout the organization and use AI to more effectively facilitate interactions with employees and influence the employee experience, the opportunity is really for HR to define how that should work. What are the types of behaviors? What are the types of experiences, environments we want to create? Because ultimately, AI has to be driven by some outcome. Like what outcome variables are you trying to use it to drive? Whether that's engagement surveys, attrition, any of those sorts of outcomes. HR has to define what we're trying to optimize for, and then AI is going to be able to help you identify the variables that are driving those outcomes. So HR really needs to take the lead in defining how these AI systems are going to be used and how you scale those systems across the organization. So that's a little bit about what our tool does, is basically define the employee experience from all this behavioral data across the organization, give you insights into that for different teams. What are the factors that are driving that? What are the behaviors like isolation, no one-on-ones, that kind of thing throughout the organization? And then basically show you how to take action on that through nudges and insights that you can deliver directly to managers to try and affect changes, to try and instill the behaviors you want. So we see the opportunity for HR is to define what types of behaviors you want to promote across your organization that are driving the outcomes you care about, and then what is the actions to improve those behaviors throughout your organization. So that's a quick overview of what we do, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or tell you any more.
That you
Sure, yeah. So we use data from like productivity tools typically. So like Office 365, so like email, calendar, chat, like Slack, Skype, like all those sorts of data. Ultimately, it's kind of behavioral data, right? It's like the work that you're doing and how people are interacting. Mm-hmm.
And I think you mentioned surveys as well.
Yeah, so we can ingest survey data. We use that primarily for outcomes. So like engagement surveys, like you might run engagement surveys like, every year or every quarter or something like that. We crunch data about behavior every week and then can see how that data has historically impacted the results of the survey and use that to predict, like to give you basically what would the survey look like today if we predicted it from the behavioral data.